प्रोजेक्ट वॉरलॉक पील पुलिस ने 18 जने अरेस्ट किए जो मेरे सामने आ है 18 जने अरेस्ट किए गए प्रोजेक्ट वॉरलॉक आ की कर रहे थे क्रिमिनल एक्टिविटीज कारजैकिंग वायलेंट होम इन्वेजन्स ते रॉबरी ਇਹਦੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਪੀਲ ਰੀਜਨ ਚ ਜੀਟੀਏ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਆਏ ਦਿਨ ਇਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਟ ਕਾਰਜੈਕਿੰਗ ਵਾਇਲੈਂਟ ਆਰਮਡ ਰੌਬਰੀਜ਼ और वायलेंट ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ होम इन्वेजन मिडनाइट ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ होम इन्वेजन्स ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਸੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਵਾਰਲੈਕ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ 18 ਜਣੇ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੈ ਲੇਕਿਨ ਸ਼ੌਕਿੰਗ ਪਾਰਟ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਚੋਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਰਿਪੀਟਡ ਅਫੈਂਡਰਸ ਵੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਬੇਲ ਤੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਸੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕੀਤੇ और ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਰੈਸਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ 9 ਜਣੇ ਹੈ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਉਹ ਬੇਲ ਤੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਇੰਨੇ ਹੀਨੀਅਸ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ਡ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਵੀ ਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਲ ਤੇ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਜੋ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਆਰਿਫ ਵਿਰਾਨੀ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਔਰ ਅਟਾਰਨੀ ਜਨਰਲ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਆ ਸਵਾਲ ਕਿ ਕਿਉਂ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਾਰ-ਬਾਰ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਕੋਡ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਚੇਂਜਸ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਆਂਦੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਅਗਰ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਅਸੀਂ 2 ਵਾਰ ਅਮੈਂਡਮੈਂਟਸ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਾਲ और इस साल जनवरी के अंदर सो फिर डिस्कनेक्ट कितने है क्योंकि इस कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर पुलिस ने भी और MPP ग्राहम मैग्रेगर जिहड़े कि सॉलिसिटर जनरल के ऑफिस है उन्होंने भी यह चीज़ कही है कि ऑल ओनर्स लाइज विद द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट क्योंकि उन्होंने चेंजेस लियानियां चाहिए क्रिमिनल कोड के अंदर पील रीजन के चेयर नैंडो ने भी यही गल कही सी डिस्कनेक्ट है वो जिहड़ियां चेंजेस है उहदे रिजल्ट सानू दिख नहीं रहे क्रिमिनल कोड के अंदर सो आ प्रोजेक्ट दी जिहड़ा प्रोजेक्ट वॉरलैक है दी सारी असीं इत्थे प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देखते हैं चीफ निश ने डिप्टी चीफ निक ने इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स ने और MPP ग्राहम मैग्रेगर ने की किया एज प्रोजेक्ट वॉरलॉक ते और जो सैड पार्ट है कि क्रिमिनल्स बार बार जो बेल ते बाहर आते उन्होंने कद नत्थ पऊगी कद रुकेगा देखते हैं प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस वी हैव हर्ड MPP ग्राहम मैग्रेगर वी हैव हर्ड डिप्टी चीफ निक एंड वी हैव हर्ड यू अबाउट द challenges of revolving doors challenging of all these criminal which we see today. First of all, salute to the investigators also. How many of them were repeated offenders and how many of them are already out again? So if out of 18, if a number can be shared. Thank you.
Yeah, so just in regards to the number of individuals, we arrested, as I said, 18 in total. Of the 18, we held 15 for bail hearings. Of those 15 held, 9 have since been released on conditions into the community. Prior to the investigation, Project Warlock, 6 of the individuals were on release orders from the courts.
Where is the disconnect? Reason is, like recently we interacted with the Honorable Arif Virani, who is the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada. We asked them about this question. That why we are releasing people like that repeated offenders out again and again, and their answer was we amended the criminal code twice, one last year and one this year in January, but we see where are the results are the same. Police and investigators are doing their best because we are standing in between the community, and I will expect if you can answer where is the disconnect. And also if MPP McGregor can also add into that, we are putting everything on the federal MPs and none of them is present here today. We want an answer from them also, like if community wants, police want, our politician wants, province wants, city wants this crime to be handled, keep criminals behind the jail, and why our MPs are absent, they are not present or they don't attend the media about these changes in the criminal code, where are the results? Thank you.
Thank you. And so very, very quickly, every chief in Ontario, including myself and the OPP commissioner, have been very vocal in the last year and a half, 2 years, as it relates to recommended changes, not just federally, but to the way the courts operate and how bail is seen for repeat violent offenders. Just to be clear, we're not talking about everybody. We're talking, as Deputy Nick mentioned, the small amount that create the biggest harm. We have seen some changes come into effect this calendar year in the criminal code. It is, in my opinion, a little early to see how that's materializing as it relates to trends. But to answer your question about where the disconnect is, you can write legislation. My officers can lay the charges. Our Crown attorneys do an amazing job. They are essentially overburdened and stretched as well. But the application of how the law and the framework is still in the hands of the judicial system. And, there are many factors involved when it comes by case-by-case basis to release somebody on a form of release or on bail or to keep them in custody. But it really comes down to the individual that is in the courtroom and their application of the framework that's set before them. And, without me going down too far, and probably MPP McGregor can say a bit more than I can, that's where it needs to change. The harm that is being caused by releasing individuals versus the risk of keeping them in custody is disconnected. And we're seeing individuals, we've seen the auto theft cases where somebody's been involved with a violent carjacking, they're in a courtroom, they're released, and they steal a car in the parking lot of a courtroom. That happens right here in Peel. Or they're back out committing an offense. So the disconnect is, in my view, part of the whole ecosystem needs to be tightened.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Nitin. And I echo the Chiefs. Our position in Ontario, it's not, we're not saying that nobody should get bail ever. But when you see violent and repeat offenders out again and again and again, put yourself in a victim's shoes. A victim of a violent carjacking. Gun to your head in front of your family, the trauma for your family and your kids, and the trauma that you go through. And Peel Police, we've got. I'm biased as a Brampton boy, but we've got the best. We got the best police service in Ontario and in Canada right here. The investigative team behind me, the team that we have here at Peel Police, they're heroes. They do their jobs. But imagine police do their jobs, they catch the bad guy that did it, and you think you're finally going to see justice, only to see, a video of them out at a gym a week later, or to hear that they stole a car on their way out of the courthouse. So I just respectfully, I'd say to the federal government, what they've done has not done enough. We need meaningful bail reform. We need action. Enough is enough. And we need meaningful action today. Thanks.
Really appreciative of the opportunity to have some conversation with our community, be here in the community. That was really the impetus behind this project. Project Warlock started with a number of home invasions where, as you've heard, people were sleeping in their homes in the middle of the night, and that peace was interrupted by violent criminals that have since been arrested and charged. So, the message really that I want to share with the community is that our police service is committed to protecting their feelings of community safety, and we will doggedly pursue anybody that comes into the region of Peel, Brampton, and Mississauga and attempts to shatter that, as we've seen here today. And from my perspective, you can expect more of these types of announcements, more people being arrested, but in addition to that, we will also address the gaps that are beyond police purview and advocate for change where it's necessary and required on behalf of the community.
Sat Sri Akal, Namaskar, Assalamu Alaikum. Met Wadda, Brampton North, though, PC Party MLA Graham McGregor. We're here for the results of Project Warlock. 18 individuals arrested, 150 criminal charges, an organized criminal group that was engaged in violent carjackings and home invasions. We had some cases where victims were woken up from their bed with a gun pointed to their head and their home invaded. Peel Police do a great job catching the bad guys and catching the criminals. We need our criminal code to reflect that. Too many of these individuals were let out on bail already when they were arrested, and too many of them are already. It's heartbreaking to see when police are arresting the same criminal again and again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. We need meaningful bail reform, and we need it today. Thanks.
We have arrested 18 individuals that are believed to be responsible for these crimes and laid over 150 charges. In addition to these arrests, our investigators have seized 4 firearms, 3 of which we have been able to successfully trace to the U.S., an additional 2 replica firearms and ammunition that came along with it. Also seized was $55,000 in luxury items recovered during the investigation, as well as 12 vehicles valued at approximately $1.2 million that were either used as crime vehicles or as a result of the carjackings and home invasions.
the unease and the trauma that you all feel. We share your concern. I want you to know, on behalf of Peel Regional Police, we will do everything in our power to continue to arrest and stop these individuals, to seize firearms from them, and to ensure that these criminals do not victimize our community anymore.
Is a perfect example of why it's such a good idea to fund police properly. The Doug Ford government takes a lot of hits for the support that we provide police. We put funding and rules in place to make it easier to recruit and train new police officers. We've invested in equipment to help them do their jobs, like automatic license plate readers or excitingly new helicopters coming for GTA police services. When I was briefed on Project Warlock, I was dismayed to hear that several of the suspects in custody were arrested while out on bail. And this is a story that residents are sick and tired of hearing. Repeat and violent offenders who continue to walk our streets because of the revolving door justice system. I hear from police regularly about catching the same criminal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And to hear that today police are arresting the same people who've already been previously arrested breaks my heart. Project Warlock involves 18 arrests, 150 criminal code charges laid. That's 17 violent home invasions, armed robberies, and carjackings, guns and knives used against innocent people. Shame on our society if these individuals are allowed out on bail to do it again. I understand that it's the role of judges to interpret the law and make rulings. It's not a politician's business to get involved, fine. But the criminal code that they're interpreting is written by politicians, specifically the federal politicians that we have in Ottawa. Premier Ford wrote a letter over a year and a half ago, signed by all 13 provinces and territories in Canada, calling on Prime Minister Trudeau to implement meaningful bail reform. We have continued to see a revolving door justice system ever since. On behalf of the Ontario government, I'm echoing that call here today. We have 11 Liberal MPs here in Peel Region who represent the governing party. I hope that they're listening. I hope they're advocating to the Prime Minister to do the right thing. We've heard from the police on this, but put yourself in a victim's shoes. Imagine an armed scumbag breaks into your home, puts a gun to your head. Police do their jobs and catch the guy who did it. You expect him to go to jail, only you see him at the gym the next day because the lax criminal code let him out on bail. Enough is enough. Ontario has done its part. Peel has done its part. Peel Police, they've gone above and beyond what anybody could reasonably expect of them. We need the federal government to do their part. Let's make it happen.
In addition to the robbery charges, some of the involved parties have been charged with breach of release orders, breach of probation, firearm offenses, drug possession and trafficking offenses, breach of trust, intimate partner violence-related charges, and possession of property obtained by crime. Following individuals were identified and arrested. Nania Quarton, a 21-year-old from Mississauga. Mark Obahat, a 19-year-old from Brampton. Josiah Farrell, a 21-year-old from Brampton. Kishan Grenier, a 21-year-old from Brampton. Tyrese Williams, a 24-year-old from Brampton. Patrick Kubu, a 19-year-old from Brampton. Isaiah Grenier, a 19-year-old from Brampton. Mohammed Muhib, a 23-year-old from London. Ayub Abdi, a 22-year-old from Milton. O'Neill Antubam, a 23-year-old from Mississauga. Brianna Nash, a 26-year-old from Brampton. Tashawn Kirkhover, a 24-year-old from Brampton. Antoine Betty, a 27-year-old from Brampton. Inderpal Dillon, a 26-year-old from Brampton. And 3 young persons aged between 14 and 17. The successful completion of this investigation was made possible through funding provided by the Ontario Government, Ministry of the Solicitor General, in which the Criminal Intelligence Services of Ontario supported the Peel Regional Police Central Robbery Bureau.
You've also heard us talk about organized car theft. It continues to be an issue in our community. While we have worked hard on enforcement and advocating on behalf of our community, car theft continues to be an issue and is trending towards becoming more violent. Criminals are, as in Project Warlock, becoming increasingly violent and resorting to carjackings and home invasions. A small percentage of violent criminals is creating the majority of violent crime. 6 of the 8 individuals in this investigation that were arrested had previous charges and were on various forms of release. 15 of the 8 arrested in this project were held for bail by the investigative team that you see behind us. Of the 15 held for bail, more than half have been released. But despite these challenges around firearms, repeat offenders, and car theft, the investigators that you see behind us and the women and men of our police service continue to do their best, putting their own safety aside to protect our community's safety.